Hi, welcome to Surviving Schizophrenia with Steven. My name is Steven. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'm here with my dad again,
I'm Steve, Steven's dad.
and we're going to talk about what it's like for me living with schizophrenia.
So, Steven, you've had schizophrenia for 10 years now. You're 22 years old. Do you remember, before we get into what it's like in your life living with schizophrenia, do you remember what it was like before you had schizophrenia? What it was like living then?
No, I don't remember what it was like living without schizophrenia. I can't even imagine what it was like anymore. I can't picture my life without anxiety, depression, and the exhaustion I feel every day.
So now, how do you maintain a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, so it comes down to, of course, two parts of that: mental health and physical health. Let's start with physical health. I try to keep a good diet. And so with the medication, it makes me very hungry. So I try to make sure I'm not overeating, and I try to not have too much sugar in my diet, not have too much salt in my diet. I avoid alcohol for almost the most part. I did have half a beer a few weeks ago, but I don't drink often at all. Yeah.
What about exercise?
Yeah, so that's really hard for me. When I'm so tired, it's really hard to even be motivated to exercise. And when I do, I can't stick to the routine. I've tried in the past, and I only ever make it like a week or two in before I am so worn out and tired that I don't exercise for months.
And what about medication? How do you manage your medication?
I always take my medication every day. I don't think I've ever missed a day, because I know the importance of taking my medication. I know that if I didn't take my medication, I could relapse and I could fall back into possibly even psychosis. And I don't want to take the risk.
You mentioned psychosis. Do you have any psychosis now?
No, I don't have any psychosis now.
But
That has not happened in many years, thankfully.
So in your life living with schizophrenia now, what are the symptoms that what are the issues that you're dealing with in your life?
Yeah, so mostly just anxiety, like I said. When it comes to just my parents making noise with just even eating, right? Like, I don't eat with them because I can't handle that noise, but also I can't handle the noise of them hitting the spoon against the bowl. So that causes me more anxiety, and I have to shut all the doors to get away from that. As well as I still have depression, so that's something I deal with every day as well.
And Stephen, coming back to medication
Yeah.
and diet, what concerns do you have to have concerning your diet and medication?
Yeah, so I know I can't eat grapefruit. I'm not entirely sure why, I just know it does affect, interacts with the medication in an adverse way. As well as that, I know I can't have too much caffeine. I mean, I need some caffeine to stay awake, but I don't overdo it on coffee, for example.
Right, and one of the things with caffeine, there is an interaction, both caffeine and alcohol, with clozapine. So Stephen's on clozapine, got to be very careful there. Some caffeine is okay,
Yeah.
and you have an espresso in the morning, that's no problem, and you might have one in the afternoon as well to kind of lift you up, just like everyone does. Not everyone, but
A lot of
many people do. Antihistamines is another issue, right? So
Yes.
for cold medication,
I can't take almost anything when it comes to cold medication or antihistamines in general. I believe I can take Zyrtec,
yes.
but even that is a little... I gotta be careful.
Right. So the antihistamines are they can alter dopamine in the brain, and that's what the antipsychotics are working on as well.
Yeah.
So it can have an adverse interaction with the antipsychotic drugs that Stephen has taken.
Yeah.
So that's a concern. Engaging in activities and social interaction, that's part of healthy lifestyle. How do you
That
engage in
is.
activities and social interaction?
It's hard because part of the illness, part of my schizophrenia, makes it so that I generally don't want to be around other people as much or often. I think that's part of the stress issue. Whereas if I'm at home, I'm comfortable or more relaxed or less stressed as when I was someone else. And so sometimes I just almost have to force myself to go do something.
Right, because social withdrawal and social isolation is not good.
It's very unhealthy.
Right.
I was very isolated for a long time when I was very ill. And while I felt like it was less stress, it wasn't good for me.
Right. So social interaction is very important to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
That said, when I was very ill, I still was with my family a lot. My cousins, and they helped so much.
Right. So I think that's one thing that living with schizophrenia that you're dealing with is the social interaction, the need to do that, but it's difficult, correct?
Yeah.
That kind of where it comes out.
Exactly.
And then work. Work is part of, doing something in life that is, trying to accomplish something meaningful. And so, are you working? And
No, I am not working in the traditional sense. I mean, I got my GED right before COVID hit. So I had pretty much just gotten through high school. Not the traditional way, of course, GED, but since I don't think I can work in the traditional sense. For a while, I wasn't sure what I would do. Until now, when I have this YouTube channel, this is what I can do to help make a difference and do some sort of work.
Right, and it is work. It's it's awesome. Your channel, Stephen, and putting this together is not easy.
No, but I can do it on my own time.
Right.
I don't have a deadline per se where it's like my boss said, you got to get this work turned in by Thursday or something.
Right. Are you editing your own videos for the YouTube channel?
Yeah, I edit it all myself. I learned on YouTube.
Is it a lot of fun for you?
Editing, it can be. I can't say it's a lot of fun all the time, but it can be kind of fun.
Right. It's work, but how would you describe it? Your YouTube channel and putting these videos together.
It's work. It can be stressful, but it's also very cathartic, and I know it could help a lot of people.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Does it feel good? Does it make you feel good, Stephen?
Yeah, it gives me a lot of pride and makes my, I guess for lack of a better phrase, self-worth more important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think that is so awesome because that's one thing that good work can do as part of a healthy lifestyle.
I wasn't proud of anything I was doing before because I wasn't doing anything. I'm proud of this.
And that itself can lead to depression.
That's very true.
So
if you don't have anything you're doing in your life, you're generally more prone to being depressed.
Right. So that's awesome. It's awesome, Stephen. So mental health awareness is something that is super important. I think that should be integral to everyone's life.
Whether or not you have a mental illness, your mental health is still important. Before I had schizophrenia, I didn't realize this until after I had my schizophrenia, that I was bullied in school. And I wasn't aware of mental health at the time, but looking back, I was like, yeah, no, that takes a toll on you. So you don't have to have a mental illness, you should be aware of your mental health, whether or not you have mental illness.
That's a great way to put it, Stephen. I totally agree. I mean, before Stephen became ill, mental health awareness in our family was not much, or almost none, basically.
We weren't aware of it
because just going along, living life. But really, it's everyone has their mental health issues, some more than others, and so monitoring, though, I think with your schizophrenia, Stephen, now one way your life I think has changed is now you really have to monitor your mental health.
I have to be aware of how I'm feeling inside, emotionally and mentally.
Right,
and then physically, of course, but.
Right, and as Stephen's parents, we also have to be aware and cognizant, of how Stephen's doing, because it could require, some mental health care. It could be either.
And well, sometimes you can see that someone is struggling, like their anxiety. You might see it on their face. You don't always. So you might not always know that someone, or someone else might not realize that you are having some sort of mental health issue of any kind.
Right. So I think
you could look completely fine and be very depressed.
Right.
for example.
That's an excellent point, Stephen. And I think that in monitoring Stephen's mental health issues with schizophrenia, you really have a support team, a psychiatrist. You have regular psychiatric visits,
Yes.
a therapist that is mostly on Zoom now, but will
Because
at some
of COVID,
point,
yeah.
right, because of COVID, but weekly there with therapists,
Yes,
and she's phenomenal.
she is.
And
And
also
a family.
and family,
My family has been there for me the entire time.
Right.
Not just immediate, but my cousins, for example, my aunts, my uncles.
that's right.
They helped. Because
That's right.
otherwise, I would have had almost zero interaction with other people for all those years.
And I check in with Stephen, and Maria does too, on a daily
My parents
basis.
do, yeah.
Oftentimes, many times a day, if necessary, but not oftentimes. It depends on
It
how
does depend.
how Stephen's feeling. But we check in to see how he's feeling, and to monitor that stress level and the anxiety level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's monitoring the mental health. There's also monitoring the physical health. One thing that Stephen's psychiatrist said, the first year or so after Stephen fell ill, is a lot of people that have serious mental illness, you essentially disregard their physical health because you're trying to deal with this mental health issue, and then physical health becomes a secondary issue. But physical health is critical to mental health.
It goes back and forth. You have to have good mental health and good physical health. And if one of those is lacking, the other one doesn't do as well.
Right,
either.
and with clozapine that Stephen's on, so he's been on 175 milligrams of clozapine for about 8 years. Has had no seizures, no enlargement of the heart muscle, which are two of the issues. Another issue is the depletion of white blood cells.
That never happened.
Have never had that.
That said, because of that issue, the white blood cell issue, I do have to get my blood drawn once a month.
Right.
Or once every 30 days.
And you can have hypertension.
You can't really see, but I get my blood drawn right there.
Yeah, every 30 days. Yeah.
That happened about a week ago again.
Right. So we have to be, with regard to the physical health, monitoring these potential side effects
Yes.
from clozapine. The vast majority of which Stephen hasn't had, but they're a concern. Avoiding too much stress is also important, Stephen. How do you try to avoid too much stress?
I think it's hard depending on a lot of factors, but you have to know when, for me at least, I have to know when to walk away, essentially. I'm way too stressed out from whatever situation. I need to go remove myself from that situation and do something that I like play a video game, watch TV, to calm down, essentially, and relieve that stress.
Right, and it requires good communication
That as
by by us and Stephen, both ways.
Yes.
I think yesterday, Maria and I were downstairs. I forget exactly where you were. I think you were
I was in the TV room.
in the TV room, and I heard we were doing something. We had the music going, and I heard Stephen say, "Hey guys, hey guys." So
Yeah, I heard. To me, it sounds way louder probably than even his, because I'm hypersensitive to that with misophonia and just my schizophrenia. But it sounded like they were banging on the plates.
So the great thing the great thing here is that our communication is very good, and we remind Stephen that he needs to communicate this to us because we wouldn't know it otherwise.
No.
And so when Stephen says, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And then hey Stephen, what do you got going? And he goes, "What are you guys doing?" And we're just just doing a few things. It was kind of a little bit noisy, and apologized to him and said, "Hey, it's great. It's great you letting us know. We always tell Stephen, and don't have to really tell you this anymore, but in the last couple of years that it's critical that Stephen communicate with us any issue that's causing him anxiety, so then we can deal with it."
Because holding it in doesn't help.
Right, and you have to let us and
Because
other people.
eventually, you can't hold it in forever. And that just gets worse and builds on itself until you get very stressed out. And
Right.
that doesn't help
It has to be dealt with. And the way to deal with it is, like Stephen said, either remove himself from the situation, let us know if it's us, or let someone else know.
And if I can't let someone else know, like I said, remove yourself. I remove myself from
Right.
situations like that.
So avoiding too much stress, communicating feelings is, I think, key there.
Yes.
And dealing with anxiety. One thing that Stephen's psychiatrist has always told us, and she is spot on, in dealing with schizophrenia, is reduce the anxiety. Reduce the anxiety, because high anxiety is going to bring on potentially psychosis and all kind of other issues, depression, and a host of a number of other issues. So in dealing with not only schizophrenia but any type of psychosis, reduce anxiety is really the key.
It is.
And so, you know, the other, with regard to mental health awareness, it's also, and this would be physical as well, having regular sleep schedules and patterns if you can. I mean, regular sleep and good sleep is so critical to mental health.
But hard. Because I'm so tired all the time. I don't know how to explain this. I guess I'm so tired I need to sleep for longer periods of time. But that doesn't mean I'm sleeping well. So I'll sleep from anywhere from 9 to 10 o'clock at night when I'm either wiped out, maybe even before. Stumble upstairs, have my dad spot me upstairs so I don't fall. And then I go to sleep, but I don't necessarily sleep well, but I do end up sleeping until like 11 o'clock in the morning.
And I check with Stephen on how he's, you know, in the morning when he wakes up and how he slept. And this is an issue that I want to get a better resolution to. So we're working on this, and we're going to be reactivating our efforts in this front, because I want to get to a better, I want Stephen to be able to get to a better situation on not feeling so tired and getting better sleep. And, you know, he's not on a lot of medications. He's on two antipsychotics. We're going to cover that in another video on polypharmacy.
And antidepressant.
And he's on an antidepressant. So 3. That's it. And it's worked miracles. But, you know, we're always seeking, you know, how can it be improved upon? So something for us to talk to your psychiatrist about.
For sure.
And she's wonderful, and you know, but it's good. We need to communicate with her always, and as we do, and try to keep this moving in the direction of where you're not so exhausted all the time.
Because if I wasn't as tired, I probably wouldn't have as much anxiety. Be able to exercise, which would help.
Right, and then it just kind of builds and builds and gets better.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. That's about it. Do you have anything else to add, Stephen?
We covered everything.
You're doing great, Stephen.
Thank you.
Really proud of you, and yeah, you're welcome, Mike. Yeah, really proud of you, Stephen.
Thanks, man.
And you know, it's a journey. Thank you for
thank you for joining us on this journey.
Thank you for joining us on the journey.
Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a happy and healthy rest of your day.
Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.